Dentists will buy a practice, David, and not have an associate for it. It blows my mind. Imagine if you're their business coach, go, I'm going to take out a loan for this practice,
right,
20 miles from my practice.
Right.
Who's going to be the dentist? I'll figure that out later. So we're helping them figure that out with Dentist Job Connect. That is the unlock to more free time with your family, more practices, more production, and then more insulating your organization from disaster, David.
Good day, everyone. This is Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders Mastermind Community and the Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Here today with my good friend, Dr. Paul Goodman. Many of you know Paul. Those of you who don't, you're going to get to know him today. Affectionately has named himself Dr. Nacho for reasons he can talk about a little bit. But Paul is a dentist. He's a multiple practice owner, transitions broker, and a founder of both Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. Many people know him, as I said, as Dr. Nacho. His online and virtual community is over 60,000 dentists today striving to help each other to increase, I love this, increase happiness. Oh, you mean it's not about EBITDA, it's not about top line revenue, it's like how many chairs, oh, happiness. Who put that back into the success formula, Paul? I guess you did. Well, good job, buddy. Not only that, but decreasing stress and reducing the number of times dentists feel like crying inside a day. Dentist Job Connect is proud to help practice owners connect with associate dentists. We're going to talk about this today for sure, to share in the joy of that. There's another word there that doesn't come up in the metrics, the KPIs, joy, which Dr. Nacho describes as full contact arts and crafts. All right, so Paul, again, for very few people who don't know you, what makes you who you are? What's the backstory here, Paul? Give us a little bit more of that. Flesh it out.
Thrilled to be talking to you, one of my favorite people, David. I've learned so much from you, but I always like to share the only reason I'm here is because my dream failed. And my dream, David, was to play professional basketball in the NBA. I'm holding a basketball now. And at some point I had to realize, even though I was a good three-point shooter in high school, that dream was not going to come true. I was not going to pay for the Philadelphia 76ers, but this backup dream of being a dentist, a practice broker, a connector of dentists has been a really awesome backup dream. I mean, what I've always strived to do, even before Dental Nachos, would be to connect dentists so that they could get along and not prevent them from disliking each other later in life. My dad was a dentist, worked with him for 11 years, amazing father and dad. Sadly, he passed away, but he had a dental partner. And when I looked around the dental landscape, I said, all these dentists work by themselves. Why is that, Dad? And he said, dental school pretty much makes us compete and dislike each other. And I said, this dentist Hunger Games mentality, I don't know, David, it's causing depression, it's causing frustration, it's causing loneliness. I do not in any way pretend to be a mental health professional, but I get a lot of sad stories, tragic stories that can cause dentists dying by suicide. And I am not in any way saying that's because of dental school. I know these are very complex things. But the trend of the compete instead of collaborate always bothered me. So I created Dental Nachos, as I was just describing, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, because when I tell outsiders, I said, hey, dentists are very good at being nice to patients, but not so good at being nice to each other. And we look to change that. So that's our backstory.
Yeah, no, I love what you're about and the message you bring. And, I'm part of your community and part of the Nacho world because I'm probably more of a troller and a lurker, but trust me, I'm there. I'm there. And I'll plug in here and there, just something catches my eye when I'm not so busy. But Paul, you spoke about your father and, his insights, talking about Hunger Games, the competition versus collaboration. I agree with you. I'm of a different generation, probably a little bit more your father's generation thereabouts. And, when we were going through school, there was no social media.
Right.
We were pre-internet. And so two things I can think of, you can probably think of more, that I think make this lack of collaboration, more competition worse. Number one would be social media. I think that's a big one because you can have keyboard warriors that really social media is just editing, the high points of your life and never showing, the low points. So everything looks good out there and you can comparing yourself to really, fake stories for one. And then secondly, we know that boy, there's a lot here to cover, but not just the debt, the cost of going to school, and you've been very good about laying that out, and then the lack of actual the keys to the training. I mean, when I went to school 40 years ago, even notwithstanding going to a GPR, which I think makes a lot of sense, but even notwithstanding that, we came out with some pretty decent base clinical skills. Like, we had to do, a lot of extractions. We had to do a lot of endo, and certainly crown and bridge and, basic operative, perio, et cetera. I mean, we got a pretty good solid amount of reps. Today, what I'm hearing, kind of COVID disrupted this whole thing, but they're not getting the reps in a lot of cases. And so is all this leading to, you think, more disharmony, more lack of
Well, I would
joy?
say, Dave, these are great points that you've made. And one of my newest sponsors is this amazing group out of Las Vegas that has a training program to fill in the gaps from dental school. And Dr. Byron Blasco, who was holding the Stanley Cup over his head because he is the sports dentist for the team that won this year. He said, when I finished dental school, he's probably a few years older than you, David. He goes, I did 67 crowns and my new associate did 4 crowns. And that's a big problem. So I want to share with you, to give people context, and I've grown since the pandemic, I have 10 people working at Dental Nachos, 6 people at Job Connect and me. I like eating food. So we have 17 people, David. I'm going to buy pizza for everybody. I'm just going to get one pie. That's 8 slices. Mm-hmm. That means 9 people are not getting pizza. And dental schools are taking the tuition money from thousands and thousands of students, and they simply do not have the pizza. And in this world, pizza is the clinical procedures. They do not have it to train them. And it is very sad, toxic, and irresponsible. It's happening too often for it to be an aberration. Yeah. And the government is pretty much providing unlimited funding to get a dental degree. So why lower your prices? And I think the guardians of our profession, dental school, have a lot of explaining to do, because when they give a degree in general dentistry to someone and says, go and practice in Texas, and they do not have the dribbling, passing, and shooting skills to play in the game, it's demoralizing. And then, David, for me, I'm a private practice dentist right now. Will I ever sell to a DSO? I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But right now I'm a private practice dental group, 2 owners, me and my brother, 9 dentists. We have 2 associates that are general dentists and other specialists. I mean, I said this to my residents the other night. If you go to get your haircut, David, and you can get the same job done by 2 different barbers, do you want the one that takes 3 times as long? Are you going to sign up for that one? So the hard truth is that patients are not, I don't want to say patients aren't dumb. I mean, patients are aware and they go, older person does it in 1 hour. Yeah. Younger person does it in 2.5 hours. Younger person looks friendly, but I would rather see older person. Right. And every one of us would make those choices. So there's a lot of uncomfortable factors at play that are causing disharmony. Because I think when people have the expectations, they're going to go to dental school and get skills to be able to start their career with success, and then they go out and they can't do that, it causes a lot of, like you said, disharmony. So I think that it's important. I would say it's important to be aware of a problem before you try to solve it. You talk to dentists, Dave, they're such problem solvers. Oh, someone has a cavity. Let me do a filling right now. It's not an overnight problem solving thing, but some dental schools, David, they provide great clinical experience, like Midwestern in Arizona. Why do they do this? They have no specialty programs. They have plenty of work for the students there. They're one of the most expensive dental schools. And here's one of the things Dr. Travis Campbell and I talk about a lot. They make the procedures very inexpensive for the patients. So what do you know? You get more of them.
Sure.
And my dental school is not different than private practice. What patient is going to go to a dental school so I think it starts with dental school. I was picked up by my mentor the other night to go to see the residents, to lecture them. And I said, it really starts with what the environment dental schools are creating for the dental school environment and private practice and DSOs. That is pretty much a mess, I would say.
You know, it's unfortunate, Paul, but I would say follow the money. The malincentives that have been created by the money, the profit. Yeah, same thing when I went to Baylor 40 years ago. In the mornings, there are people lined up to get in the door for the screening, to see, for triage for, extractions, whatever they're coming in for. There was plenty of business, plenty. Right. I mean, there's never a problem getting patients. That was never. And today, because the schools are all about more profit, to the detriment of the primary focus, which should be the education. But again, unfortunately, follow the money. It's not just dentistry; it's so many things in life that it's not good. But here's the thing I want to bring out. You're actually somebody whose heart and mission is doing something about it. You can't by yourself do it, but the ripple effect of the community you created, Dental Nachos for one, and boy, I got to hand it to you. I know policing, monitoring policing, and I know you probably have some help on that. Well, I guess Mottner, is he help or is he a distraction?
Bonnie actually, he is like the Larry David of my group. So is a very bright indiviable, and
Very, very bright.
and he knows edge pushing, and he rarely goes over the edge. And if
I
you meet
know.
him in person, he's just a more about banter than he is about
Sure.
being.
Oh no,
He's just
I'm
a blunt. No, I have to message say, Marty, you can't say it that way, right? It's like your uncle who said you cannot say it that way. It's a little blunt, but I'm glad you brought that up. What's sad to me is Dental Nachos and many of these groups, they're free communities, right?
Right.
And I'm in Philadelphia, home of some of the best free parks in the country, Rittenhouse Square, Washington Square. And I really appreciate that my city provides these parks for free. And I know some people say your taxes, but I just want you to know there's no requirement to have a job to go in the park, right? So you could be an 8-year-old who's not paying any taxes. So these free parks, David, you don't get to do whatever you want. You can't go in there and play bagpipes at noon, right? There's guidelines. And what's poignant to me, and maybe this it's like, we have these free parks. Let's not mess them up, right? You disagree with someone, don't call them the dumbest dentist on earth. Just sometimes you don't have to say anything, or you can disagree with respect. So I think I've gotten to that culture, but it's been a long road. Dentist, I was just speaking to a doctor specialist, and I said, and I told him about Nachos, and I said, the difference is doctors follow around bigger, stronger doctors after school, David. They go through an internal medicine year, then let's say they do neurology, cardiology, and the bigger duck says, don't do this, don't do that. This is how we do things. And they become professionals. Dentists get pushed out of the nest. A 1-year GPR, great, that's awesome, big fan of that. But many just go right out into the real world, and they feel threatened by new ideas, frustrated at their career. And I think that social media has mostly good in it, but just like anything else, if you're consuming it and it's causing you stress, just, I don't know, take a break from it, take it off your phone. And I'm not much different. I say that all the time. In 2002, you know what I had? I had a Hotmail account and 4 friends. If they didn't know the answers, David, I was out of luck. Now people literally go on Del Nachos and get 87 people giving them feedback. Take it with the proverbial grain of salt around your margarita glass, I'll tell people. But I just think we should feel lucky that we have a way to connect with people from our homes, from our phones, from our couches that we've never had before.
Yeah. Back when I was in my days, we were very isolated. I mean, maybe you had a local study club, but again, even there's many times ego driven, and it really depends on who's leading it, facilitating it, right? I mean, so you're a great facilitator. You have your guidelines define the culture, and people can decide whether or not the culture that you created and work so hard to maintain is right for them or not. If it's not, perfect, that's okay, right?
You know, I want to, if I can say this, you made me think of something great with the study club, because it's sad, because sometimes it's a solution, but sometimes it has a competition vibe there too. Where the younger, you know what I want to say is, I've spent a lot of times in gyms in my life, a lot of times. And I find that some of the kindest people on the planet are people who lift heavy weights. And
the big guys, right? Yeah.
People who lift heavy weights, I have these weights behind my thing, and I have one that's 35 pounds. The 35-pound bicep curl guy, he literally cheers on the person doing 5 pounds. If you go to a gym and the strongest guy there who can bench press 400 pounds, if someone said, would you spot me for 120? He would run over
right there.
And they would say, you can do it. And I get even like a little bit of chills talking about it, because I love that atmosphere of cheer everybody on to their ability. Right. And you think of these big muscle bound people or fit people, it doesn't have to be muscles. It could be people who do pull-ups or run fast. And the gym culture often has one of support. And I would love for that to translate to dentistry. But I have a 4-year-old child, David. And you know what? If you make people compete from the ages of 0 to 4 over who can eat the most M&Ms or who could put their shoes on the fastest, that's what they do to dental school. And then they become difficult with each other. And hopefully Dental Nachos, Dentist Job Connect, great things you're doing with Freedom Founders are pockets of communities that can make a difference.
It's so interesting you bring up the gym culture. I do go to a gym myself. I don't look like I go to a gym because my muscles are, not cranking the big weights, but I do go. And so you're so right. I see that too. I see this also in the other communities I'm a part of, Paul, that are real estate focused. Right. The collaboration and the support is off the charts. There is no scarcity mindset whatsoever. Everybody's helping everybody, and it's not ego driven. People aren't like trying to shout from rooftops, they're billionaires, quadrillion. It's like, has nothing, who cares? And the people who have done well are there to help, and they give, contribute to those who are coming up and trying to figure it out. And it's like, it blows my mind. It's so different. And yeah, you're only one person, but you're doing a great job there.
I like what you said in the intro. It's where do you put, and I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, where do you put happiness and success back into the formula? I'm someone who right now has been very lucky to be asked to speak at many different conferences, and I've done it for 15 years and I love it, right? It's one of my favorite things to do. But I've actually said recently, what I would love more if someone said, Paul, bring me one of your mentees, put them on stage, you watch from the side and see, and that would actually give me more fulfillment. Speaking gives me fulfillment, but it's like you with your real estate people, you're probably so proud. I don't use your language the way you think, so I apologize if I get this wrong, but you're probably proud of the person who bought their first duplex, who's getting their first rental check.
Right.
And even though compared to maybe what other people in your group have done, it's 1/10 of their portfolio. Everyone seems so excited for that person. And I just wish dentistry had more of that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about Job Connect, because that was a thing that when we were in San Antonio a month ago, and just again, there we are in the same space, and we're hearing from a lot of the same common problems that pervade the industry, and that is it has to do with many times the exit or scaling a business or practice, or those who want to, what we kind of call, sort of escape the chair, not completely, but not ready to sell out. And it's all about this conundrum of well, where do I find associates? Well, those darn millennials, blah, blah, you hear all the name calling, and they don't want to work, and and they can't do anything because they don't have the reps, and so Job Connect's there, but you're also a transition broker, so how do you see those working together? Because obviously you understand the transition side. You've got people who, well, do I I don't want to sell to a DSO. Oh, maybe a DSO is not right for me. Great, no problem. What are other ways that you're helping? I know what the answers are, but you're going to say it more eloquently. Well, how does all this connect together?
Two things I said, and I'm really proud. One time you asked me to do a 10-minute presentation on selling practice, and it made me break down that someone with a practice that does $1 million a year could sell it to a younger dentist and stay on for 6 months.
Right.
They could sell it to a private practice group like me and my brother and stay on for 2 years, or they could sell it to a DSO and stay on for 3 to 5 years. And those roads are pretty much the roads, right? Yes, there's other ones. Maybe you can partner with them. There's a partnership opportunity with DSOs. But what I found is, for you to be able to get out of the chair, and I've worked in a lot of restaurants, for a chef to be able to get out from behind the grill, they need to hire an associate chef or dentist. And what I want to hopefully take a minute to explain to your audience is, I've worked in a lot of restaurants, and guess what? You can hire anyone off the street to be a chef. They do not need a special license. Of course, top chefs go to school, of course, but what I'm sharing is you could train anyone to do that skill. In dentistry, you must have a license, so you'll have a finite pool of people who can help you. And these groups that are so into expanding, it could be 2 to 4, David, 4 to 8, it could be 18 to 80. I've noticed they don't pay enough attention to who's going to be doing the dentistry there. They may want to buy 7 ops. They may be looking at EBITDA. So what I found over the past 15 years in doing this is that I wanted to create an affordable, fun platform from the solo GP, just helped Dr. Mitchell Rubenstein and Dr. Bob D hire their first associate, to a guy like Dr. Arash hire his 10th, to DSOs on our platform. So the way Dentist Job Connect works, it's totally flat fee. There's no success fee. Recruiters charge many times $15,000 to $25,000 per position, which has a lot of value. There's recruiters on our platform. When we advertised Mitch Rubenstein's practice, Rubenstein, 24 people applied, David, because it was in New York City. Yeah. But then we advertised one in Abilene, Kansas. No disrespect to Abilene, Kansas, but we struggled to get 2 people. So you might need a recruiter there, but we charge $1,000 to $2,500 at the time of this recording. We guarantee you applicants. We don't guarantee success, but if you hire someone, there's no additional charges. And we found that it's been really fun and friendly for every type of practice owner to look for associates on our platform, because that is the unlock. I talked about this unlock to more free time with your family, more practices, more production. Whether that results in profit right away, it doesn't always happen because associates are lost. And
Yes.
then also more insulating your organization from disaster, David. You know, DSOs have this common phrase, you probably heard it, offices go dark. They turn the lights off because they don't have a dentist. They will come to me and say, 6 of our offices went dark. I mean, that means they're paying for the bill, the rent. I don't know what happens to the team. So we jokingly say we're solving the biggest problem in dentistry, helping people find jobs and hire associates. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. I've learned a lot. It is dentist. You're talking about entrepreneur. A dentist will buy a practice, David, and not have an associate for it. I blows my mind. Imagine if you're their business coach. Go, I'm going to take out a loan for this practice.
Right.
20 miles from my practice.
Right.
Who's going to be the dentist? I'll figure that out later. So we're helping them figure that out with Dentist Job Connect.
You and your brother have, you said 9 other doctors.
Yeah.
Right. So that takes some artful skill, communication. So, and to me, that's probably the biggest thing that's missing, where private practice docs, you know, they want to escape the chair. They maybe would like to bring an associate on, a mentor, but they just don't have any kind of a plan. Do you help provide some of that? Is there something in addition to, will help you connect to some potential associates? That's great. I mean, it's awesome to have that. What else goes into the mix to potentially help them? Again, you can't guarantee it, but help them be successful, because what they don't know, they don't know.
I mean, I have to thank you, David. And I mean, this is where hopefully I want to take a moment to say how great you are. When someone invites you to something, just show up, just show up, just show up. Because you invited me to Freedom Founders a few years ago, and I met Bill Ladd there.
Yes.
And that has been one of my greatest relationships. So someone like Bill Ladd, Nacho sponsor now, and Duckett Ladd, the Rob Montgomerys, there's a team of people to talk to, because sometimes it's about the money, David. Do you have enough? How's this going to impact your profit? You know,
right.
A spouse of a dentist, and this has nothing to do with gender, does not know what it's like to be a dentist.
Right.
So a spouse could come home and say, I'm so tired of being a dentist all the time, I'm going to hire an associate. And their spouse says, oh, good, that sounds good, but we're going to make 75% as much money. Well, no good. Go back to being hired, right? So I say, you know, create a treatment plan for your happiness and success, but don't pretend that money's not an issue or morale. And also, I'm glad you said this. My brother and I were at our practice yesterday. Having an associate, David, means you don't necessarily have to be in the operatory holding the drill all the time, right? It doesn't mean you're not intimately attached to everything that goes on in the practice.
Right.
You're now at a different circle, which has what I call the COA, David, circle of annoyance, right? So it's a different circle of annoyance. So first of all, most private practice dentists, I only do 1 day a week right now. My brother does 3 to 4. Most private practice dentists with associates are also doing some dentistry. They may just have the opportunity to focus on implants while they're
Sure.
But they are, you know how many times we get calls from patients? I didn't like what the associate did. Why'd they do this? Now we got to freaking get on the phone. Hey, 82-year-old person, they're a good dentist too. We would trust them. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that hiring an associate just creates a shift in your responsibilities. It doesn't mean you can be on a beach while your associate's there.
Yeah, that's the big misnomer, right? It's what I call the misconstruence of the plug and play associate. I'll just plug in an associate, you know, and I'll take the time off I wanted, or I can be a remote owner and the associate. Yeah, it is a shift. It's an involvement, and a corollary to that, which just on the side, is I have a lot of really younger docs who are well-intentioned, who say, hey, I want to get involved in real estate, and all I have to do is just buy some properties, right? Buy some properties, and the quote passive income will just start coming in, and they realize that there's a lot more parts and pieces to that, making that successful. It's, again, anything in life, we just don't know what we don't know. But here's a clue. There's somebody who has gone before you who has figured it out.
Right.
Just looking at you right here, you have figured something out. It's not the only way to do it, but you've seen. And the other thing is I call you a guide, Paul. You're a great guide, because not only have you figured some things out, but you've also had that 30,000 look over a lot of other people. So as a broker, as a Job Connect guy, as someone who is in the community, you're looking over the shoulder and you're seeing all these other things that are going on, and you've got a philosophy of which you have created over your years about what you believe in works. And so if I feel like there's an affinity toward you, Yeah, I like you, Paul. All right. I just say it.
I
I like
appreciate it.
it. And you have apparently figured out some things that up to now I can't see it. I don't see the way through. I got blind spots. We all have blind spots. And it's sometimes just a click of the dial, a few things that I just haven't seen. Bam, all of a sudden I'm through that next door, whatever that door is. I'm through that next door, and it's not my final destination, but it's like I'm making progress to whatever it is I'm trying to get to.
I love you
right?
saying, David. It makes you. And also, I've been known for creating a community based on kindness. And what this means is, if somebody posts a picture of their crown and you would have done an onlay, don't call them the worst dentist on earth. But I also talk about just be real. I talk about spicy topics. Like, I'll just say these words: private practice dentists not creating room for associates mean DSOs are going to grow faster, because if you do not create room for your colleagues to work with you, then they'll work for DSOs without judgment. It's an observation.
Yep.
So when some private practice dentists, they don't know how words work, David, because I'll say, oh, you're 57 years old and your wife wants more time with you. Have you ever thought of hiring an associate? They go, I can't afford that. I go, okay, what did your K1 say last year? They said $832,000. I said, well, you don't know how words work. You don't know how math works. You don't want to hire an associate.
Right.
And listen, this is America, capitalism. I'm not telling one they have to do anything, but what I'm sharing is the things that you do influence the whole community. And as someone who talks to probably more dentists than anyone on earth through my communities, I see this. If you, I'll play this with you. You're a graduate from a GPR, David. You went to dental school. You didn't have a lot of family money. You invested 4 years of your life. You made 60 grand in a GPR. You have 400 grand in debt. And I'll just say my friends at Rodeo Dental, right? I'm not saying they're the most perfect group ever, but they're a group. And then a private practice down the street. Rodeo Dental is going to pay you $225,000 a year. They're going to send you through residencies, training. They're going to support you. They have group Zoom sessions with everybody. Or this private practice dentist down the street says, hey, David, I'll pay you 30% of collections, no guarantee. You eat what you kill. Benefits. I've never heard of benefits. Which one are you picking?
That's a no-brainer. You're going to go with Rodeo in this case. I mean, we just, the private practice owner just doesn't know what they don't know. And trying to figure out where they want to go, and again having that limited belief about this, there's only one way to do it, and if I bring an associate, well, that's going to take away from me. Well, it's an investment. Anything in life is an investment. It's a long game. There's no shortcuts. You went to school and you take CE, which is an investment in yourself, and your facility and your other staff members. This is an investment. And it's not.
I say you could do this, John. It's an investment in your sanity. It's an investment in your sanity. Your family wants more time with you. And then my parents always said this, David, that they go, Paul, you could have been a lawyer, but they didn't say it very nicely when they said it. Because they said, now I'll do this. I'll tell you how I pitch our job in private practice. Hey, Dr. A, you're going to work as part of a team with specialists, my brother and I. You're going to learn a lot about running a practice. You're not going to get to do extractions. You're not going to get to do endo. We each sub-focus on what we do. You're going to make between $150,000 and $180,000 a year, but you'll never be alone. You're always going to have a dentist with you. How's that sound to you? And then some people choose that door.
Sure.
It's just awareness. And I do all this content I can share with you. What questions? I literally give people 9 questions to ask on a job interview for them not to get a bad job. Ask these questions. Why need an associate? What procedures? Is there an income guarantee? Can I observe? So I always, I actually would like to ask you this. I was asking someone this today. Dentists go to the best colleges. They try to dental school. They make sure all their I's are dotted and T's crossed. Yet when finding a job, David, they apply to 2 places, don't ask questions, don't hire an attorney, and then get it. Why do they do that? Like, why do these people who are box checkers and application people, their brain shuts down and they find a job in an irresponsible way?
Well, I think it's just that is everything to get through to being credentialed and licensed and passing boards. It's very defined. It's very defined what you have to do. And it is a checking of the boxes. So once you get out though, who's there? Other people like you there, but there's no one that requires you. This is what it's kind of like, I got my freedom now, but that's a little bit dangerous because you're not ready to like play ball by yourself. You still need somebody who's going to help you carry the torch and help you look through the lens of experience to say, what should I do? So I think that's the biggest problem is we've been told to do what to do to get to a certain mountain peak. And then it's like, hey, I got there. Now I can just, just play ball randomly. And it's like, that's the big problem. It's one of the key inflection points or lack thereof that I think we both would agree with young docs who are coming out with whatever amount of debts hanging on them is that next decision is just as darn important as to where they decide to go to school or even to go to dental school in the
Right.
first place. It's absolutely, well, that and who you marry. Okay. I'll put that up there very high. That's a big one. But
And
boy,
I put that
in
out
terms
there
of-
high too, and I don't say this with any trace of, but I've said a lot of times to someone who sells practices, David, I go to a dentist office or on the phone, and and they've had multiple spouses, multiple houses, and one practice. And some of it's due to tragedy, some of it's due to interpersonal issues, but it shows you that your dental career decisions dictate all these other things. So at least put them on the table and start to think about them in serious ways. There's a show called Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It's very funny. Kimmy Schmidt, who's Elle Fanning from Bridesmaids, is kept in the middle of the country as some sort of this group, is like being held hostage. And she breaks free and goes to New York City. And she gets to New York City and she doesn't know how to operate at all. And this hairdresser has to help her because she's the traditional, from the Midwest. That's dentist in the real world. They get out there and say, where's my good job? What's this? I say, there's sharks out here. There's people who will lie to you. You have to plan your career, connect with the Ducketts and Lads, connect with the Rob Montgomerys, pay attention. And also I say, when should you start looking for your job after dental school? First day of dental school. Start applying 9 months when you're done. Looking means who's in my area. I want to go to Austin, Texas. And I'm an equal opportunity lawyer. Many of these young dentists are not geographically flexible, so there's not enough jobs for them. There's enough jobs in the 50 states.
Sure.
And I'm standing, David, 40 miles from where I was born. So I have not moved. I am a Philadelphia and New Jersey guy. But if you are somebody who wants to be in Miami, Florida, you may have a tough time with the saturation of associates there. It's just something for you to be aware of. I don't know if you have seen this with any of your clients who are looking for associates, but there's plenty of jobs in South Dakota. It was one of your calls. But most people who work there are from South Dakota.
Exactly. No, it is a problem for those that are in locations that their affinity there is because that's where they grew up. Typically, that's what it is. And so, some do have that problem. That's an area though that I think, again, not to go down this rabbit hole because we could do a whole segment on this, but I'm a big believer in people telling their story about what makes their life, their
100%.
practice unique. Because initially all you need is one good potential candidate who goes,
You're right.
that's me.
It was on your Zoom call during the pandemic where a nice guy said, why can't I find an associate? I think it was South Dakota. And I go, how'd you get there? He goes, I grew up here. I go, well, you got to start telling a story about why someone might want to move there, because this is a serious thing. Mental health and mental fitness is serious. Dentistry is a stressful job, David. Dental school is stressful. If you leave to chase money in a place where you don't have friends or family, it's a recipe for disaster. So I really feel for young dentists too, to just say, oh, go move to a place where you don't know anyone. It's a very rare thing for people to do. So there's a lot of challenges on both sides, and telling your story is a great way to put it, to get that magical one person.
Well, Paul, you do so much, and your enthusiasm and your genuineness just spills over. I think that's why people love to be around you, because you're a positive guy. You denounce negativity, which I'm a big fan of too. The whining, the complaining, throwing darts at people, things like that. Love the community, love what you've done, love all the connections you make, not just through Job Connect, but you're a great connector just overall, which is it's part of your personality. My last question to you is, how do you get so much done? Because and you've got a family, you've got young daughters. How do you get so much done?
I would love this question. I get asked it a lot, right? So I didn't just wake up inside of a Facebook group. I did exist before Dental Nachos, right? 3 to 4 days a week as a dentist, teaching implants, being a broker. The unlock for me is just constant. Who can do this job that I want? How can I delegate this? How can I share this responsibility? So my coaches say, do the only things that Paul can do. And this applies to dentistry too. Should dentists be doing the recycling at their office? No, because they can hire someone to do the recycling. And my team knows I'll run and pick up the wraps for us. It's not an ego thing or a judgment thing, but it's basically looking for constant delegation. We have 3 team members working in Pakistan right now from my sponsor, Edge Health. So I think it's constant delegation. But here's the thing, most dentists, they're not patient, and they will not take the time to train someone and let them break a few eggs or drop a few nachos. I no, if I don't have to do the job anymore every time, I will spend a lot of time training. So it's training, onboarding, delegation, and not being overly judgmental of yourself, right? I mean, it's not a perfect path. Dr. Lincoln Harris, I know this. I hope I can introduce him to you. You would interview him from Ripe Global. He came to see me, and you mentioned this. Nobody sees your journey, right? Sometimes they just see the end or where you're at. Ask them, ask people, and say, how did you get here? What would you have done differently? But my answer to how to get more done is delegation and patience with people.
You said one other thing I have to pick up on here,
Sure.
Paul. You said something about coaches, like plural coaches. Now,
Yeah.
are these coaches like, are you trying to get some back to basketball, or
Well, I wish that
what's this thing about coaches?
I am someone who's always been not afraid to ask for help. I got practice management training early when my dad didn't think we should do it, but I said we needed to. My practice management coach introduced me to Aldana Ambler, who changed my life in amazing ways. She's coached presidents of the US, growth strategy. She's in her in mid-70s now, but I have a coach for Dental Nachos. I have a coach for Job Connect. We have coaches for our practices. People have to see you outside of your box. You're too emotionally attached to what you're doing. You cannot see it. It's like your kids. Sometimes you're too judgmental on your kids. Sometimes I say, my child's being too ornery, and the teacher goes, you're being too tough on them, Paul. They're doing good. Other times say, my child's perfect. The teacher says, well, I know you love your child, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. And I think of that as my businesses. I think of that as my team. So I believe that getting coaching early in whatever you're doing is truly an unlock to creating happiness in your career.
Smart move, a lot of wisdom from Dr. Nacho, Paul Goodman. It's so great to connect with you again on our connection call today with Job Connect and everything else that you do with the connection world that you've created. Paul, thank you so much.
Thanks, David.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.